did me wrong in any way. He did his job, and I got no problems with it. My issue is with LeBron James. And I just want to say for the record, LeBron James is full of it. And in this particular instance, as it pertains to his son, he is a liar. And he went on national television today and he lied again. At some point, you as Bronny, you need to say, I don't want this anymore. This was nice. Dad, I appreciate you. I love you to death, man. It was great that you did this. I'm happy that I could have been a part of it, but now I got to go earn my stripes. I got to be in that G League. I got to show that I'm worthy of being here, because you can't always be here to protect and cover me, etc., etc. I'm not saying he hasn't done that.
LeBron James and Stephen A. Smith are back at it again, firing shots at each other after the First Take host brutally criticized Bronny James again. This was after his impressive performance in the G League against the Pelicans. However, Stephen A. Smith still had more complaints to make about Bronny. He lauded him for hitting 14 points, 3 assists, and 1 rebound. However, he complained that his performance wasn't still consistent enough for him to rate him as highly as many expect.
You got really disrespectful this time. You said Bronny was better than half the players in the NBA. You said, if you want me, you should draft my son because I would do anything to play with my son for you. That's not saying that Bronny's bad. The expectations that have been put on Bronny were LeBron's. Stephen A. said, my problem isn't with Bronny, it's with you, LeBron, because you said these things.
The Philly game, Bronny played in Philly. He was bad. You can't get mad at Stephen A. for talking about that.
Bronny did put up an impressive performance against the Pelicans, and I have to point that out, Stephen A. said. However, I think he's yet to put up a string of consistent performances that'll make me put him where y'all want me to put him. He's showing glimpses, but he's not as consistent. He was one of the standout performers in the game, but it wasn't the same in the previous game. With Stephen A.'s comments, he expects some more outstanding efforts from the youngster that'll make him more significant in the team. Interestingly, LeBron was having none of this. The elder James took a baseline seat as Bronny James and the rest of the Lakers took the court for warm-ups ahead of Saturday night's NBA Summer League game against the New Orleans Pelicans.
Stephen A., have you had a conversation with LeBron since we've seen the incident?
No.
Would you?
If he asked, which he wouldn't, but if he asked, sure.
Why do you think that happened?
Because we don't like each other.
Right. Okay.
Period. But I want to emphasize this. I respect the hell out of him.
There was a point early in the second half when LeBron James began to offer advice to Bronny, the kind of encouragement that helped Bronny put up a solid performance during the Lakers' 94-81 win. Stephen A.'s claims about inconsistency was probably because Bronny's 14 points marks just the second time this summer that he has eclipsed double-digit points. He scored 10 points against the Miami Heat before this. And earlier, James scored just 2 against the San Antonio Spurs on July 8th, and 8 in a much-anticipated matchup against number 1 pick Cooper Flagg and the Dallas Mavericks on July 10th. And this is exactly what Stephen A. means when he talks about inconsistency.
Hold me accountable for what you know and what you see. And hold me accountable for what I say. Don't make shit up. And there's a lot of people out there doing that. Excuse my language. I'm sorry.
Worries.
You know, that really bothers me. And here's the reason why. Bronny James is in high school. I'm out here in LA a lot.
The most recent defeat to the Clippers dropped the Lakers' Summer League record to 1-2. The Clippers, meanwhile, improved to 3-0 and were led by 2023 second-round pick Jordan Miller's game-high 19 points. It was a low-scoring affair, but Bronny James had his best points output of the 2025 NBA Summer League season so far. Stephen A. Smith isn't quite ready to admit he was wrong about Bronny James. But the ESPN personality did lay the groundwork for such an admission on First Take, the morning after the son and teammate of Lakers superstar LeBron James played his best NBA game.
And I got to tell you, this is why I have a problem with LeBron. One of the reasons why I have a problem, because LeBron is a hypocrite. And I kind of wish that Stephen A. hadn't backpedaled just because of LeBron confronting him. Because if you'll remember early in LeBron's career, and I mean early, there was a moment where in a game in Cleveland, I forget who they were playing, and LeBron James got into a skirmish
2 weeks earlier, after Smith was confronted by an angry LeBron over comments about his son, Smith had taken to the same airwaves to assert that he wasn't being disrespectful in saying he felt Bronny belonged in the G League as a rookie. On Friday, however, Smith told viewers, "I might have been wrong." That acknowledgement came after Bronny stepped up in the absence of several teammates, including his father, Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt, and Dorian Finney-Smith against Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks. The result might have been a blowout loss for the Lakers, but Bronny had a breakthrough performance. His 17 points and 5 assists in 30 minutes were all career highs, and his 3 rebounds tied his NBA best. Smith said, "I was very impressed because I saw an elevation in his level of confidence and poise. It was like it didn't really faze him. He didn't look as nervous as he had looked in previous appearances on the basketball court. He looked like somebody that belonged."
Earn, which I believe he has the potential to do. I am rooting for Bronny James. But right now, Bronny James is averaging 0.3 points, 0.3 assists, and 0.4 rebounds. How are you doing him favors? We know that he's not ready yet.
What did he say wrong? Nothing that was disrespectful.
There were some moves that he put out on the court: ball handling skills, getting to the basket, finishing at the basket, pulling up for jumpers, hitting a 17 points, 7 of 10 shooting from the field. I was impressed. He added, "And if that kind of stuff continues, then indeed he'll be in the league as a bona fide player sooner than later. One game doesn't make that determination. You need to do more than that, but I wanted to make sure I emphasized that point." Smith was sitting courtside at Crypto.com Arena for the Lakers-Knicks game March 6th when LeBron approached him during a timeout and angrily addressed him. Smith said the next day that LeBron had come up to him to confront me about making sure I mind what I say about his son.
American that was averaging 14 points a game. Questioning the legitimacy. I say nothing. He's supposed to go to college. He's going to USC. Then unfortunately he had the heart ailment. Thank God he survived. He's okay. Nothing but well wishes. I say nothing but that. His pops comes out. My son's better.
On Friday, Smith reiterated what he has said numerous times since the incident, that he never disrespected Bronny. "But I did believe that he belonged in the G League to get himself honed for the NBA level," Smith said. "What may have been wrong about that is that evidently being around JJ Redick and that staff and being around Pops and the rest of the Los Angeles Lakers, combined with the G League, going back and forth, may be doing wonders for him sooner than we anticipated, because I liked what I saw last night. And I'm going to keep the same energy. When he plays well, we're going to give him props. When he doesn't play well, we're going to say so. That's what happens with covering the league. Maybe his pops didn't tell him that, but I'm going to tell him that. Congrats on a good performance last night. I hope it continues. I believe it will."
Kid talked to his teammates, high school, college at USC, and the pros. He's a real lovable guy in the eyes of everybody that you talk to about him. But the reality is that now that this has happened, you get to harken back to the resume. You were a McDonald's All-American. You averaged 14 points a game. Most McDonald's All-American players, they have better numbers than that.
LeBron James is one of the greatest athletes in American history, the NBA's all-time leading scorer, the face of Team USA at the Olympics, an imposing figure with a legitimate claim to GOAT status, and in his ongoing battle with Stephen A. Smith, he's getting whomped like he's an elementary school kid fighting a high schooler. You know who the participants are in this little drama? James, the perennial all-star and face of the NBA for decades, and Smith, the current face of ESPN, who's opinionated in the way the ocean is damp. Their current feud began a few weeks ago when James approached Smith before a game to take issue with the way Smith had been railing on James's son.
If you took LeBron James' career from 2012 to now, and that was his history, from his first title to what he is now, and you wanted to make an argument against Jordan, I'm listening. The problem is we don't get to ignore those first 7 or 8 years where there were a couple of occasions where one, he was accused of quitting, and I don't believe that, by the way, against Boston.
In military terms, James is still fighting the last war, and confronting Smith publicly was a serious tactical error. James came of age before social media, when an athlete's glare was enough to send most journalists scurrying to craft an apology. These days, riling up an athlete is a straight path to some of that precious viral hashtag content. That was LeBron James coming up to me, unexpectedly I might add, to confront me about making sure that I mind what I say about his son, Smith later said on First Take, larding his words with absurdly over-the-top gravitas. Can't repeat the words because they ain't suited for FCC airwaves, that's what he was doing.
Inviting idiots. This has been going on at ESPN, not just with First Take, but they're the leader of it. Hey, let's invite Kai Cenat on, a midget TikToker. Hey, let's invite idiot gangster rappers on, and we can always do. Idiot gangster rapper, who do you like, Jordan or LeBron? Barkley said ESPN has dumbed down the conversation about sports and made LeBron fans not like Michael fans.
Put aside the fact that James shouldn't have been wasting time defending his son in the first place. In this, Stephen A. is well within his rights as a commentator. Bronny is a literal NBA player, not some anonymous kid trying to avoid the spotlight. The possibility for criticism, even misguided or biased criticism, is what all those zeros in the paycheck are for. The moment that James stepped to Smith, he stepped onto Smith's unfriendly home court. In basketball, Stephen A. could get 100 possessions against LeBron and never score a point. But in the arena of debate, particularly a debate where the other person isn't even in the same state, well, that's where Stephen A. puts up Wilt Chamberlain's numbers.
The way he said it could have been completely different. He was like, Bron got to stop this shit, blah, blah, blah. That's crazy. You're in the NBA. You're not exempt for getting talked about because you're LeBron James' son. It's just the way he said it rubbed Bron the wrong way.
Maybe I didn't want to make a phone call. And maybe that's the first time I saw Stephen A. Smith to approach him in person. And maybe he just blinked. I'm going to check you now. Like, hey, bro, like, watch how you talk about my son.
In that situation,
Facts, courtesy, common sense, they ride the bench in Stephen A.'s world. Attitude and volume are what win games. LeBron was screwed the moment he thought he could silence Stephen A. He's going to be smiling from ear to ear when he hears me talking about him, James said, understanding that he was only feeding the beast even as he criticized it. From there, Smith criticized James about him criticizing James's family, and round it all goes.
It was honest. You may not like to hear that if you're LeBron James, but it was not disrespectful in any way, shape, or form. And I understand, that's your son, LeBron. But Bronny James is also an NBA player.
Right.
So he's going to get the same critique as other NBA players do.
Maybe it was something else because that wasn't disrespectful at all. He came with facts. Like, that wasn't disrespectful. Is there something else that we missed? Because that wasn't disrespectful.
I can understand LeBron not liking it.
It's the truth, though.
I don't care if it's the truth.
But
It's the truth.
The thing is, unlike in real, legitimate sports, media slap fights have no shot clock, no time limit, no finish line. We're in an era now where the actual games matter less than what the loudest members of the audience think about those games. Highlights come and go, but hot takes burn on and on. James knows that by criticizing Smith, he's only giving Stephen A. exactly what he wants: the opportunity to rage, claim victimhood, and fill airtime. With the latest development, Los Angeles Lakers star LeBron James and ESPN commentator Stephen A. Smith have now escalated their war of words that began earlier this year when James confronted Smith during a Lakers game over Smith's coverage of his son. James, appearing on ESPN's The Pat McAfee Show, criticized Smith for making personal attacks as opposed to discussing on-court play when talking about the NBA, and also accused him for exploiting their confrontation for personal gain.
As a basketball player, he approached me as a father, which I could understand. So now let me go back to my point. So when LeBron's mother did that, LeBron specifically yelled at his mother, "Sit your behind down." Because LeBron knew that, hey, I don't need you to save me. I know I'm your son and you're my mother and I'm your child, but I'm a professional basketball player, playing a professional sport.
The back and forth began on March 6th, when James sought out Smith for an animated conversation before the fourth quarter of a Los Angeles win over the New York Knicks. With both sides since confirming the conversation centered on Smith's coverage of James's son, Bronny James, whom the Lakers drafted with the 55th pick last June. Smith had been critical of Bronny James earlier this season, saying in late January that the younger James belonged in the developmental G League and not the NBA. "I am pleading with LeBron James as a father, stop this, Smith said on ESPN's First Take in late January. "We all know that Bronny James is in the NBA because of his dad." LeBron James hinted at his frustration with the media in late February, criticizing talking heads such as Smith when asked a question about who should be the face of the league.
A high school gymnasium. where his son is, everybody and their mother's gonna ask me what you think. And I didn't feel like that was fair to that kid at all. So I never went to watch him play. Not one time. Never went to watch him. He makes the McDonald's All-American team. My colleague, Kendrick Perkins, a former high school All-American in 2003 with LeBron, who's known LeBron for decades.
Why do you want to be the face of the league when all the people that cover our game and talk about our game on a day-to-day basis trash everybody? James told reporters in the locker room on February 28th. A few days later, James would confront Smith in person. An action Smith, who discussed the conversation on several platforms, would describe as weak. Then on Wednesday, in an interview released on ESPN's The Pat McAfee Show, James said Smith used the in-person confrontation for more attention, claiming the ESPNer was on a Taylor Swift tour run discussing the incident. He completely missed the whole point. The whole point, James said of Smith, never would I ever not allow people to talk about the sport and criticize players about what they do. That is your job to criticize or to be in a position where if a guy's not performing, that's all part of the game. But when you take it and you get personal with it, it's my job to not only protect my damn household, but protect the players.
LeBron fans not like Michael Jordan. Jordan fans not like LeBron James. We've divided everything up. Basketball is this beautiful game, and we used to celebrate each other and celebrate the guys before us. But now ESPN, driven by Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith, and this whole embrace debate movement started by Jamie Horowitz that has never gone away.
Smith has since fired back on multiple platforms. First on his own podcast Wednesday night, then again on First Take on Thursday morning. I just want to say, for the record, LeBron James is full of it, and in this particular instance, as it pertains to his son, he is a liar, Smith said on his podcast, which was nearly an hour-long monologue about James. He also claimed he would have tried to punch James if the basketball player had touched him during their face-to-face in Los Angeles. On First Take, Smith continued to discuss James. He continues to lie to the world about what I said and who I was pointing the finger at, Smith said. To regurgitate an obvious point, when I talked about Bronny James early in the season, and I highlighted the fact that at that particular moment in time, he simply was not ready, I was calling out LeBron James.
He's the second greatest player in the history of basketball. He's a global, iconic brand. What he has achieved in his career is phenomenal. I will never lack respect for him and his accomplishments. I believe Michael Jordan is the greatest I've ever seen.
He also added, I suggest that he be happy with the things that I haven't brought up. I never brought up and never really discussed why you were not at Kobe Bryant's memorial service. I never really brought up or discussed why you did not attend Dwayne Wade's Hall of Fame induction when that man was directly responsible for you capturing a championship for the first time in your career. Smith later clarified, as was reported at the time, James did attend Bryant's memorial service, but was not shown on camera.
Like it was 5 years too late.
Right.
And that's the greatness of him.
Yes.
Everybody that he fought, they like, what? He beat Sugar Shane Mosley. He beat Sugar Shane Mosley.
Shane caught him in the second round.
Yeah.
Almost hurt him.
Yeah.
Almost dropped him.
But you look at the champions that this man beat and made them look mundane in beating them.
Right. You talk about Mayweather, right?
Mayweather.
I would say the same.
In a recent appearance on Club Shay, hosted by Shannon Sharp, Smith was quick to compare MJ's and Money. In a conversation about the best athletes in their respective sports, the sports commentator touted the two as levels above the rest. According to Smith, while athletes like LeBron James were able to beat their opponents, they were not able to make them look less skilled than they were. This was not the case with Jordan and Mayweather, who made their opponents look less skilled.
Up and he hit 7 straight three-pointers and 15 or 16 three-point shots. Warming up, I was standing right there. The brother came ready, and he showed up and he showed out. And he brought a level of focus and fervor and determination to it, reminding us why he's a marquee. That's the kind of person you walk through the turnstiles to see. And
you're talking about Mayweather, right? I would say the same about Jordan, but that's the difference. That's what I'm saying, because Jordan will make you look like you're less than what you are. LeBron would beat you, but MJ will make you look like less than what you are. He said, and that's all for now. For the very best updates on news, moments, events, and actions in the world of boxing, stay connected with us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, and don't forget to turn on notifications to get notified when we drop quality contents like this. Until next time, peace out.